Hi, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us this month where we actually are getting a 2-for-1. We're joining the IT Leaders Collaborative Group along with our M365 Champions community together because we're focusing on a really amazing tool, Syskit. For those of you who have had a chance to work with Nina here, who is our 365 consultant, she's probably shown you some really cool things in this tool. And so we're excited to have Jason and Daniel from Syskit today to lead us through the tool and just show us, some of the enhanced features of it and things that we really feel might be important for your organization to see and use. So from there, I'll pass it over to you two to introduce yourself.
Oh, thanks very much. So I'm Jason. I'm the Partner Channel Manager at Syskit Worldwide, and I support MyTech. Look forward to any questions and everything that's going to happen on this webinar. Daniel, over to you.
Yeah. So as you said, my name is Daniel, and I'm the product manager for Syskit Point, and I'm excited to show you what Syskit Point can do actually, and how it can help you.
Awesome. Before you get started, Daniel, I forgot, if you do have questions throughout the session, please feel free to use the Q&A and we'll try and interject them. Otherwise, we will leave a little time at the end for questions as well. So with that, I'll stay quiet now and let you show us Syskit.
No problem. Let's just briefly go through a quick presentation so that I can introduce Syskit to you. So let me share my screen, and hopefully we are all seeing the presentation now. So yeah, our goal for today is actually to demo as much as possible. So don't worry, I won't bore you to death with the presentation. We have just 4 slides, and then it's the demo time. So as I'm from the product, I don't do a lot of, let's say, sales stuff. So this is going to be a deep dive into our Syskit Point. So, but briefly, just to kind of introduce Syskit to you. So Syskit is a software development company. We've been founded 15 years ago. We create innovative and high-quality solutions for governance and management of Microsoft 365 and SharePoint. And currently, we are trusted by more than 3,500 customers around the world, some of which you can see here on the right-hand side. So with that being said, when we are talking about Point, we are actually talking about a larger vision. So again, as I'm from the product, I like to talk about the vision. So our product vision, what we want to achieve with Point is to empower all of the IT teams, site owners, and basically end users with an easy-to-use platform for reporting, management, and governance of Microsoft 365 from workspace creation. So from the point when you create your sites, your teams, your groups, till the end of life of this workspace. So this is kind of the overarching vision. This means that we kind of believe in a world where IT teams are acting like enablers of governance and security and not taking the day-to-day tasks of actually nitpicking all of the smaller tasks within Microsoft 365 different admin centers. So this is a world where you have actually delegated your tasks to workspace owners, and because they are the ones who know their workspace is the best. They know what potential security risks there are, what potential concerns they might have. So they are able to identify and mitigate those security concerns much faster than what we can do from the IT team side. So this is, let's say, this firm belief in delegated management is also backed up with a lot of data. So what we see is that organizations that have delegated workspace management to the end users, they do permission management 5 times more than the ones that don't. So that's a blunt number here. So if those organizations are kind of delegating, they are doing much more security related tasks. They're removing people from groups. They're removing access. They're deleting unique permissions. And I believe 70% of that is done actually by the workspace owners. This is not done by the IT teams themselves. So this is something that is, let's say, why we believe that this world where IT teams are actually enablers is a world that we should be all aiming for. So, and that being said, kind of our vision, this all vision lies on 3 pillars, the 3 core use cases that Point covers. And these are kind of related to visibility, security, and governance. Each of them are tackling different problems that IT teams are facing right now. So when we talk about visibility, we are talking about a lack of single view into Microsoft 365, which is actually causing a lot of time-consuming and manual work for the IT teams. When we talk about security, this deals with managing permissions and identifying kind of those unauthorized activity, which is putting organization security and compliance at risk. And when we are talking about the governance, here we are tackling the lack of control over the entire workspace lifecycle, as I said, from creation through maintenance till the end of life of a certain workspace. But as I said, I have just these 4 slides. This is it from that side. So enough talk. Let's go through those main use cases in a demo. So let me show this to you in point. Let me just quickly switch screens. So hopefully you can see Syskit point now. Okay. Yep. So that being said, let's go through the dashboard here. So we said the first thing that we are covering is visibility. And when we are talking about the visibility, here you have an inventory tile. You immediately see which teams, which groups, which sites, which OneDrives you have, how many of them are there, and you can drill into each of these numbers. So if this was a live environment, you will see how many, let's say, teams have been generated in the last period, how many groups. So this is also gets filled with all of the new teams and groups that are populated here. So if I focus, for example, just on teams, I get an overview of all of the teams that are there in my environment. So, and that being said, all of the teams here, I can switch this to include the groups. I can switch this to include the sites and OneDrives, and basically I can get to all of the sites that are there by filtering some of the parameters here. But we will be focusing on teams here. So if I focus and I click here on the teams, I get all of the teams that I have here. I also immediately see what the sharing settings are, if I need the URL to get to the site of that team. I have that at my disposal here. I can include other columns into this report. So for example, if I'm interested in sensitivity labels, I can include sensitivity label here. I can include the privacy as well, and all of the other columns that you see here. So you can custom make your view as you would like it to be. And then you can filter it down to what is kind of important to you. When we're focusing around this, so let's just start maybe with a simple use case. I want to see where sharing settings are set to anyone. So this is not something that I allow on my environment, and I want to filter all of those teams that have sharing settings set to anyone. So immediately I'm filtered with these 5. So and the one of them, strangely enough, QA team, is a confidential one. So what I want to do here then is quickly change this anyone to something that is, let's say, that should be correct. So anyone shouldn't be on a confidential team. And how I can do this is you have an action, all of the reports, and you can actually do this in bulk. I could do this for all of the teams here, but I'm focusing now on just one of them. So QA team. If I want to change the sharing settings, I can immediately change this from the report. I don't need to jump from one portal to another or use some PowerShell scripts. I can do this right here on this report. There are a lot of other actions that you can do here. So all of these actions are also doable in bulk. So if I want to maybe focus on the rest of the teams that I have here that don't have the sensitivity label, I can manage the sensitivity. So I can apply sensitivity label, I can remove sensitivity label, or as we said, we want to enable our users, our end users to do this. So I can even ask the owners what the sensitivity for this workspace should be. So if I focus on this, they will get a task. They will get 15 days to complete the task. I can leave them a comment. Please feel free to enter the sensitivity. This is important for me as an admin to understand what should be done with this workspace. And I can ask the owners, and they will get a task to fill in this for you. Or if I know that some of these should be public or should have a different sensitivity, I can do this on my own and immediately add all of the sensitivity labels that I have here. So if this is not a confidential site, if this maybe is something that is internal, I can apply this and immediately the sensitivity label will change for this workspace. The same applies for privacy. And something that is that often customers ask us is, can I have some sort of a custom label on each workspace so that I can filter my reports and I can apply policies based on that custom label? So this custom label is actually the metadata. So here you can also apply different metadata to different workspaces in bulk. So if I want to, for example, change the metadata, if the primary contact here needs to be a certain person, I can change that. I can add metadata immediately from this report, or I can again ask the owners to apply the metadata for us if this is something that we don't know that what should be applied here. So this is roughly, as you can see, there are a lot of these actions. You can even go through the lifecycle management. You can go through the access reviews, but this is something that we'll cover in the next phase of this demo. What else? Okay, so I can look at this holistically, or I can kind of deep dive into a certain workspace. If I deep dive here in the Q&A team, I get details of this team. So I get all of the information, how many users have access to the information in this workspace, how many anonymous links are there, how many external users, how many unique permissions. I can immediately see that. I get all of the permissions for this workspace, and I can see the activity. So this is something that I get on a glance. I get the content that is here, so I can also explore this content in a deep dive. And this is my overview of that Q&A team. On the right-hand side, you can see the go-to reports. This is very powerful because now, when I'm focusing on this report, I can just click on permission matrix, and I will immediately get all of the access, all of the, let's say, granular permissions for this workspace to basically a file level, who has access to a certain file. So this Analysts 2023 marketing, this has an anyone link to it. These people have access to it. These two people, you'll get to know this. These are external users. So they are all color-coded within Point. So you know that, for example, a green person, this is an external user. This is an internal person. If I see someone who is grayed out, I'm not sure if I have that here, this is a disabled user. So you immediately understand what kind of people have access to this. And what I can also do here from directly from this report is I can see who actually accessed this file. So if I just want to focus on just one file, I can do that. So the permission levels and the auditing capabilities are as such that I can go into this file and say, okay, Analysts 2023, what has happened to this? So in the last 7 days, there is no activity. But let's say in your tenant, which is actually being used on a regular basis, there is going to be activity for those files. So that's how you can actually use these reports and drill into from one report to another and get additional insights how actually this is being used. And whilst we are talking about reports, they're not just these go-to reports here that you have on the right-hand side. You have a whole report center within Syskit Point with pre-built reports. So permission matrix is one of them. So here I can even focus on multiple workspaces at the same time. I can say, okay, I'd like to see permissions for maybe just external users. I can fine-tune my search, what I want to do, and run this report. It will give me then a bulk review of all of those workspaces that I have selected. So permissions down to a file level, even, and this is very important to us, even in nested groups. So if you have a nested group, in the nested group, you will always see which person has access to that. So even through different nested groups.
Daniel,
okay.
Daniel, I just wanted to jump in there really quickly. One thing that I wanted to just mention that's extremely powerful for my clients is just the variety of ways that we can actually share these reports. And then it was something you were just mentioning earlier. You were talking about that delegated management piece. And I don't know if you could go back there and just show kind of the Excel or the PDF, or you could have it scheduled. So that's kind of one way. And being, putting it in Excel, we've oftentimes we'll filter it out and then we'll send it out to the compliance team, and then they can kind of view the stuff that's really relevant to them. But maybe if you also just wanted to mention just some of the roles that are available inside of Syskit as well. So some clients will just use kind of the reporting and we'll kind of share it that way, but others invite their compliance team to be part, as a user in Syskit. And I wondered if you wanted to just kind of talk through that, because there's kind of like the reader role, and then there's, maybe giving them more capability with management features and stuff like that. But super useful for kind of how my clients are using it. So it's not just one person's responsibility, there's a whole team working on some of these reports.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's just then briefly go through the exporting and scheduling piece. So if I, for example, want to look at the permission matrix for the Q&A team that we just looked at, so I can run the permission matrix here, and here on the right-hand side, you immediately get the scheduling report, the export to Excel, and you can create different subscriptions here. So this report in this format will then be scheduled, if you schedule it, to wherever you put it in. So, for example, I can create a new subscription. This is a weekly or a monthly subscription. I can send this to an email, or I can upload it to a SharePoint document library. So this is how you can actually use the subscription to actually, on a, I don't know, weekly, monthly basis for compliance reasons, whatever you need. For example, some very strictly confidential sites that you need this report to be there to prove that permissions were set up correctly in that time period. So this is like a snapshot of what should be happening. And you can even add this to an existing subscription if this is something that you would like to have. Talking about the let's say permissions and different roles that you have here. So this is within Point. So you have this manage access. So you have a Syskit Point admin. What I'm showing you right now is from the admin's perspective, but you have a global viewer role as well, where you can add different people that cannot make any changes to this. You have Exchange admins. You can add them into Point so that they can also see the information. And you have the Point collaborators. So these are the people that you are actually delegating. These are your end users that you're actually delegating some of their responsibility for, and you can fine tune which of those site owners you want to delegate this to. So there is a lot of these fine tunings in regards to what actually can happen when what your users can do within Syskit Point. But I said what I'm going to be showing you today is mostly from the admin perspective. So that's the view here. Okay. Nina, does this answer the question? Any details?
This is perfect. Yeah, this is perfect. Thanks. I just to demonstrate that, it again isn't just one or two people's responsibility. You can really distribute some of the admin and through some of these capabilities. So thank you.
Yep. Okay. So just jumping back to the tile. So we went through the inventory piece. We've even showed some of the, let's say, second pillar, second use case functionality. So from the ability to understand who has access to what, to minimize the oversharing, to minimize some of the sharing links and stuff like that. But the other piece that a lot of our customers find useful is the users. So the ability to understand who has access, where does some user have access to from the user perspective. So here I immediately see, let's say, what are the external users, admins, blocked users, inactive users, but I can go into deeper into this. So we have Cork focused on already here, but this is what I was talking about earlier. So you have users that are blocked are immediately gray. So you can color coded, you can immediately see what these users are. I can focus maybe on all of the external users, see if they have been logging in or they are inactive. I immediately have all of the inactive users here. I can switch through these views to get kind of the visibility, let's say what kind of users I have on my environment. But if I'm focusing on a certain user here, so for example, let's focus again on Cork. So I can, again, as we had for a workspace, you have a details for each user. So here I see where this user has access to, what's in his OneDrive, how many of that is externally shared, where his Microsoft Teams and group membership is. So all of the details are regarding that. But again, I can go to a go-to report and see this user's activity as well. So I can see what Cork was doing in the last 7 days. Just to be mindful, so when we're talking about Syskit Point and the auditing capability, with Syskit Point, you have 1 year of auditing by default. So you don't have to, you are not limited to 6 months, 180 days, or whatever the limiting is there. From the Microsoft side, we are collecting this. This is why it's actually so fast. These are all live reports. So if I just put 30 days, I will get everything in. So we are collecting this information, and this information is available to you for 1 year. If you want to kind of extend that, that's also a possibility. So that's just to go into a bit of auditing. And again, you can schedule these reports if this is something that you actually need to keep a closer eye on. Okay, so when we are talking about the users, let's go back to Cork. There was one, let's say, maybe good use case. When I joined Syskit, this was, let's say, almost 3 years ago, I believe now. We were talking to one of the customers at that point in time, trying to get to feel what his kind of use cases for Point are. And he said one thing for me, so that kind of stuck there. And this is, they had a very kind of quick switch. They needed to do a quick switch between board members. So one board member was leaving, another one was joining. And at that day, at 9 a.m., he got a task, you need to do this by 10 a.m. So, and actually, this is a person that had access across, let's say, a lot of information within that tenant. So what they were actually doing here is they used the copy user permission for that person. So what they did is, if I said, so Cork is now leaving, another person is joining, I just want to copy this permission to another person, and then I'm going to block Cork. So copy user permissions is something that a lot of our users find very, very beneficial for them in these cases of onboarding, offboarding, let's say, use cases. Okay. That's basically it, what I had to show you from the user's perspective. So I'm not sure if there are any questions in terms of what you can see from the user's side, something that's that we should maybe focus more on.
Quick question for you, Daniel. I get asked a lot, show me the security groups, give me visibility of security groups. Is that something that is easy?
Yep. So again, reporting, you have the group access. And so it's not just that I'm going to show you the, let's say, the security groups. I'm also going to show you where they have access to across your tenants. So group access report, you have here, I focus on, let's say, the security groups. I see all of the security groups in my tenant, and I can just click here and say, okay, show me all files with any sensitivity label that they have access to. I run the report, and here I'm going to get the entire report of all of the security groups and where they have access to across my tenant. So this is it. Also, you can focus on the security groups and the Microsoft Teams and groups. Here you have all of your security groups, even let's say mail-enabled security groups, all of them are here. So you can just focus here and see, okay, how many members they have, how many owners, all of that is in the Teams and groups overview as well. So you can focus on that from here as well. So hopefully this answers the question.
It does. Great.
Yep. Awesome. No problem. Okay, so let's go back to our dashboard. The third tile here, storage. Storage is one of our, let's say, most recent functionalities that we've released, I believe, in the last year or so. And this has enabled a lot of our users to have substantial cost savings within their SharePoint. So a lot of our customers are kind of either going very close to their SharePoint limit or are already above that limit. So this is, if not already a big concern, is something that is going to be a big concern. And IT teams are, what we see, are very, very mindful of that. So what they are doing here is you can immediately see, let's say with the storage, what's your kind of potential savings. So on this tenant, we have 84 gigabytes, but most probably you're going to have more. So if you're focused on that. And if I click here on view all, I immediately see what my potential savings are. For example, if I remove file versions that are older than 6 months, what my potential savings are if I remove all of the, let's say, but last 150 versions. So these are my tenant level savings. I see the side trend, and on the below part here, I can see let's say the growth, for example, for a certain workspace. Is this going up or down? So I can focus on that. I can focus on different views. So I can say, okay, what are my potential savings per site if I focus on all versions? And here I immediately get, let's say, what my potential savings are so that I know where I should focus my efforts first. So here I see that, for example, Learning Portal has a potential savings of 46 gigabytes. So what I can do is I can go deeper into this and see here the cleanup action. So I see that this Learning Portals is, for example, something that a lot of videos are on. And maybe you don't need 10 versions of the same file, of the same, let's say, video here. So what you can actually do here is you can focus on this either, let's say, in bulk, or do these, let's say, quick actions here. I can clean up everything that is older than 6 months, or I can say, okay, I just want to remove all of the versions except the latest one from this file. And this will save me a lot, because you see this has gone from 2 gigabytes to 28 gigabytes just because of versioning. So I can do this on a site-by-site level, or again, going back to our, let's say, view from the tenant level, I can do this again in bulk from the tenant view. So here, if I focus on the ones that have the most savings, I can say, okay, I want to clean up file versions and I want to focus on all versions. So this is how you can actually quickly get your, let's say, versioning under control. And then you can start setting up versioning limits in this way, so that, for example, all of these sites, once you've cleaned them up, you can say, okay, now I want to set versioning limits on them, and I want this to be automatically covered by Microsoft. I want to apply different policies. So, for example, this needs to be some of the policies that I have already covered, or I just want to inherit the tenant level policy that is already applied. So I clean everything up, and then I apply policies so that this doesn't happen again, so that my version doesn't go above, let's say, what's acceptable from my side. Also, when you're setting up these versions, it's very, very useful to maybe also clean the file versions here. So you can do this in one step. This is not something that you need to do in multiple steps. We always recommend to kind of do a deep dive and see what's on each site. But if you just want to get this over with, you can do this in one step. So you set the version limit, and you delete the versions that are there, that are the excess. Just a bit of a deep dive here. You can also fine tune all of these numbers. So these are not hard coded numbers. So if I, for example, go here on the Learnings portal, this 6 months is something that is configurable. So I can say, okay, I want to keep everything that is 1 month and maybe 100 versions. Once I save this and go back, these numbers here are now represented, recalculated based on my new settings. So this is all calculated on the fly here, and you can immediately see the different potential savings. Okay, that's basically it from the, let's say, storage perspective. Do we have any questions about storage?
Do you think we'll move to archiving storage, or do you think that's not required? It's just the deletion.
So, next week we are having a session about this on ESPC. So this is, and one of the findings, I'm just going to, this is, let's say, upfront, maybe a spoiler for ESPC. What we found based on our research that we've been doing is that file versioning can get you, let's say, 40%, your storage down by 40%. So just by focusing on that, focusing on archiving on a, let's say, workspace level for inactive workspaces can get you lower than 5%. So And when you think about that, this might be surprising. There is a lot of inactive workspaces, a lot of that. But when you think about that, so a lot of these inactive workspaces is something that someone done, forgot about, and they haven't been used. So they don't have a lot of data in them. So if you're focusing about storage, your main go-to should be focusing on versioning. So every version is actually a duplicate of that file. This is how it's counted towards your how it's called towards your limit, and this is how you're actually being charged for that. So these 10 versions here that we have, you see this file grew from 2.86 gigabytes to 28, so it's 10 times more. And you can kind of if you're focusing on that, this is where the biggest savings is. So that's will we go to archiving? Yes, once we get file level archiving from Microsoft, that will be awesome. So some of these documents maybe are stale, they haven't been used. So if I have the opportunity to, for example, archive just this one file, this will help immensely. But at the moment, I have the only the ability to archive the entire workspace, and this is not something that you then want to do for the entire let's say workspace that is being used. Okay,
that's great. Thanks. Yeah, excellent. It opens your eyes to what has the saving and what has an effect. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any other questions maybe? Good. Okay, so second pillar, security. So when we were talking about that, I said, okay, this is to kind of explain and kind of get you the visibility of who has access to what and help you minimize oversharing. So it enables IT teams to perform different permission management actions all quickly in bulk. We've shown portions of that already, but what I wanted to focus on right now is the security compliance. And the idea behind this tile is to pinpoint the most important potential vulnerabilities you might have on your on your tenant, and help you as IT teams to resolve those issues quickly by either by performing some management actions or by delegation to the owners. So if I focus on, for example, these here, I immediately get all of the let's say vulnerabilities that we have identified. So there are 6 inactive guests. There are 5 private workspaces shared with everyone. So all of this is here on a glance, and you can drill deeper into this. So for example, if I want to see inactive guests, I get all of them here. And what I can do as an admin is I can just delete these users if I don't need them. So that's one thing. Or I can set up a policy that will enable the managers of these users to actually disable them. So that's kind of the view here. The other one, which is, let's say, something that we talk often about when it comes to Copilot, is private workspace is shared with everyone. So private workspace should not ever be shared with everyone. This is actually, then it makes it a public workspace. So everyone has access to information in that workspace. So you immediately get all of the, let's say, workspaces on your tenant that have been shared with everyone groups. Either everyone except external users, everyone or all users, some of these large groups. And here you can, let's say, again, remove access in bulk if this is something that you want to do. Or you need to go maybe in a bit more details and understand why this is happening. But again, we enable you to do this very, very quickly if this is something that is a pressing concern to you. Okay. Other than that, there are a lot of these here. So inactive workspaces, we were talking about that when we said, okay, we focus from creation through management until disposal. So when a workspace is inactive, you'll see all of them here. You'll see how much storage they're consuming as well. So some of them might consume a lot of storage. So you might want to focus on removing those first, for example. So I see that the design here has 17 gigabytes. So I want to ask my owners maybe if this is something that they still need. There is a lot of storage related to this. And you'll also see all of the information here. So you can immediately solve all of those issues with let's say, inactive workspaces and other security and compliance issues here. Maybe any questions regarding security compliance?
One of the top requests I get is around SharePoint. I think that's one of the hardest things to get in the admin center or to track down, is like who has access to what in SharePoint, right down to the file level. Like you can do a little bit, you can see a little bit permission wise, and like if you go into the admin center and kind of look at the site level, but it's one of the hardest things to track in 365. And I wonder if maybe you could just show how easy it is to do that in Syskit. It's one of the top requests I get from clients.
So focusing on SharePoint, let me just remove this. So if I want to understand who has access to, let me just see some of these groups. So maybe administration. So immediately here, as we said, so permissions, all of the permissions are here. And if I want to see which users have access to this, I just click here. And I get all of the users that have access to this, let's say, workspace. I can focus on different files as well. So if I'm focusing here on, for example, just this documents, I can again see our, let's say, permission matrix here, and I can see which users have access to that particular library there. So that's how you can actually quickly get information about who has access to a certain SharePoint site. Hopefully this answers your question, or maybe you have a different way how you tackle that.
Yeah, no, but pretty much. And what I'll do is, if we're doing kind of a quarterly review, I'll just grab all of the sites and then use those little quick reports to do the permission matrix.
Yep.
Export that all into Excel, and then we'll just filter by the specific workspace and have all of those owners review it. Yeah, clients love that report, by the way. The other one around access reviews, and it's, you know, like as we know, high risk areas usually center around external access and guest access. And so, you know, the report that you have kind of checking external access is a good one as well. So just kind of tying in with your external guests, that's one of the ones that we check pretty regularly. And then kind of trying to see how things are being shared externally is another one that we try to review pretty regularly.
Okay, so yeah, this was kind of my next topic to focus on. So as you've seen, we are kind of going through this dashboard from left to right. Now we are going down. So external collaboration. So here you get, let's say, the overview of your external collaboration. So sites that are shared with anyone, links that are shared with anyone. So I can immediately focus on all of the sites, OneDrive, everything that is shared with anyone. So this is one thing. Again, the same applies to sites with external sharing. So I can get all of the sites with external sharing, and this also applies to files. So links shared with anyone, I can immediately see them here, or external users. So all of this can be seen through this dashboard, or again, you can filter this down through the sites report. So all of that functionality is there. Now, let's say when we are talking, maybe I'm not sure how much of you are actually rolling out Copilot at the moment, but this is something that we have this Copilot readiness style. And personally, yes, it is around Copilot readiness, but let's say having, let's say, this functionality and focusing on all of these vulnerabilities is something that we should do regardless of Copilot. So, for example, understanding how many company-wide links that are sensitive is something that is, let's say, very important for you to know. And if I click here, I get all of those links. What I can do here is, if I don't want those company links to be anymore here, I can immediately remove all of that from my, let's say, as an admin. So all of that vulnerabilities are, you can quickly mitigate by doing these, let's say, quick actions here. So there are, let's say, also file shared with everyone. You can evaluate other sharing links. There are even, let's say, public Microsoft Teams and groups. So this is something that for Copilot, it can access that information. So if I want to focus on that and maybe use the functionality that I've been showing to you, so let's say manage the privacy here, I can manage the privacy immediately. If this is something that shouldn't be, let's say, private, so that's that shouldn't be public. So that's the ability here. And again, with all of these styles, this is just kind of pointing you in the right direction, what you should be doing when you're evaluating your, not just Copilot readiness, but also the readiness of your tenant and the entire permissions landscape that you currently have. Okay, That's it from the security perspective. I'm not sure if you have any maybe other questions before we jump into governance.
No, I was just going to emphasize on that Copilot thing. You're right, Daniel. I get hit so many times that I'm just going to turn Copilot on. Please just don't. Please prepare. It's all about preparation. And that's part of the preparation, is to know where you are and your position, and then seek consultancy to adjust it. So yeah, it's absolutely great advice.
And one tip I can give there, because I think for a lot of people, just getting started sometimes feels a little overwhelming. And one strategy that's been working well is to start with some of those high risk areas first, like focus on things like HR, finance, and some of the areas that you'll have your greatest concerns. And, get that out of the way first, and because governance, to be honest, is an ongoing, governance and compliance should be an ongoing thing. The job is never done, but at least just to make it feel a little bit more manageable, start with those the high risk spots first, start mitigating some of that, and then kind of create an ongoing plan for some of the remaining workspaces and users and so on. So just one thing to think about. Don't feel overwhelmed. You don't have to do it all in one go. This tool makes it easy to deploy it strategically.
Yeah. Maybe one just fun fact. When we launched this Copilot Readiness Style, even to our existing customer base, we got a call from one of our customers saying this is not right. So the information we are seeing here is not right. They've been a customer of ours for, I believe, 2-3 years right now, and they were seeing like tens of thousands of company-wide links. So and this is not something that they were kind of okay with. They thought it was a bug. So, but we did a deep dive, and it actually turned out that they have a lot of their users are sharing company-wide. So let's say within a couple of weeks, they've got this down to, I believe, just a handful of those company-wide links. It's still in 1,000. This is a large customers, but for them, it was going from, I don't know, tens of thousands to 1,000. It was a very, very big success. So the power of this is that it actually points you with exact numbers to what you maybe actually don't know at the moment. So this is the visibility part. Knowing something, then you can actually govern it and manage it. So you first need to understand where your kind of the landscape of your environment. Okay, so that being said, let's go through the third pillar, and this is governance. So a lot of things within Syskit Point revolves around policies and around the ability to hand over or delegate some of the tasks to your end users. So here, when we are talking about that, we are always talking about 3 different phases. So creation, maintenance, and disposal. Within creation phase, this is where you have our provisioning to help you create different provisioning templates so that your end users are always using the same templates to get their teams, sites, groups provisioned within Microsoft 365. The power of this is that you can immediately, at the point of creation of a different workspace, apply different policies. And that basically means that your workspace is then managed through its life cycle from the beginning till its end, from kind of getting all of the access reviews, all of the ownership policies, all of that is applicable through here. So let's kind of look at some of the policies that you can create. So if I focus here on the policy type, so there are access requests, access reviews, there are other policies here, so orphaned users, orphaned workspaces. I can create different policies. So access request being the top policy that all of our users, we always advise having access reviews, delegating access reviews to your end users. So because they are actually the ones that know what actually should be shared within their workspace, in which way, with which users. So to minimum owners, maximum owners, all of these policies that you have here until end of life, so inactive workspaces. So all of these policies can be created, and then when we are talking about provisioning, you can apply those different policies to your provisioning templates. So here you are actually setting up the provisioning template. So this is a confidential project team. You're saying, okay, this is always going to be starting from scratch, or maybe I want to copy the existing team. So if I want to copy the existing team, I can say, okay, I want this to be the same as the QA team. So this will actually create the other instances of the same team that you have here. But for this use case, we're going to stay with start from scratch. You can define if this is going to be a private workspace, what, let's say, different owners are going to be. You can say, okay, I allow my end users to add additional owners in this case. I allow my end users to add members to this workspace. Going further into this, you can set the sharing settings, sharing permissions. You can say, okay, this is sensitive. This is going to be confidential. So I'm going, as an admin, I'm going to say this is going to be a confidential. So whoever creates a team with this template, it's immediately going to be confidential. There are some, let's say, ability to add terms and conditions. You can add custom metadata. Custom metadata is here to help you as admins later with applying different policies or by filtering this. So if I want to know which department this is for, I can ask my end users to input this at the point where the team is actually being created. And there are others that, let's say, how I want this to be named, what's the approval process, how many people need to approve this. All of this is something that is configurable in this template, and then we get to the governance policies. So as you can see here, this template has access reviews applied to it as a particular instance. So all users and shared files needs to be reviewed. Minimum 3 owners, maximum 5 owners. Orphan groups is also being, orphan workspaces is being checked. So all of these policies are applied at the point when the workspace is being created. So this is for the provisioning. Then through their Teams app, these templates are the ones that your end users will be using to create new workspaces. So this is good actually to start with different policies from scratch. But I need to emphasize that for us, it's not important that you use our provisioning. So we have rules, and rules are extremely powerful for that case. So regardless when and how a certain team has been created, if you create a rule that has these conditions in it, we will pick it up and apply different policies. So for example, we have different rules already here. So all of the conditions, all of the things that are, let's say, being in this rule. So for example, this is a rule for, let's say, groups and teams that are greater than, that have more guest users. I can add additional rules here and conditions. So for example, I want this to be only for private teams, or I want this to be fine-tuned only for, I don't know, teams. Now let's find the, where is it? The workspace type. So I want this to be for all of the teams that are private and that have more than 10 guest users. So in that case, when we find a workspace that matches these conditions, we will apply the following policies, regardless how this workspace was created. Even if, let's say, in the maintenance phase, we know that sometimes workspaces change. So you get from a workspace that was public, it gets to private. Once it becomes private, this rule will pick it up and reapply all of the policies that we have set here. So this is very, very powerful, and our users that are actually using this, they are the ones that are driving those numbers with the, let's say, permission management. So they are actually transferring their processes, written processes, into Point, and having Point kind of guide this through the entire lifecycle of this workspace. Okay. We have done the provisioning, we have done the rules. I just want to quickly show you some of the, let's say, tasks and how they look from the end user perspective. So we've talked about access reviews. So once an access review is triggered for a certain workspace, this is a periodical thing that you want your end users to be doing. In this case, I want to, as an admin, let's say I can always stay on top of this, but from the workspace owner perspective, they will get a task, and they will be guided through this process. So they get an overview here. They can change the owners if this is something that was changed. But the biggest part of this is actually fine-tuning the members. So you have, let's say, all of these guest users. Do they need to be here? Should I remove some of them? So if I see that, for example, Annabelle here in this case did not log in at all, why does she need to be here? I need to remove her from the group. All of these news that you new here that you see, these are the ones that have these are the changes that happened since the last review. So these users have been added since the last review. I can even see, let's say, the inactive people here. If I have Deborah, for example, she's inactive, so she's blocked. She doesn't need to be in my team anymore. So I will remove her. So all of this is something that you can see here on the members. But as we know, it's not just that the members have access to this workspace. It's also different people that have that, let's say, content from this workspace has been shared with. So if I'm focusing then on our next steps, and this is the sharing, here I see that there are 15 users outside of this group that have access to information within this workspace. So there are some external users, there are some users that have been blocked. So maybe I don't want to do this. I don't want to have those users here. So I can immediately, let's say, remove access for all of those external users, for all of those blocked users. This will remove their access from this workspace. And this is how you're actually maintaining the, let's say, with the help of your workspace owners, you're maintaining the permissions for their workspaces. So they are helping you do this and kind of have their workspaces in a healthy state. Okay, I believe I've talked a lot. My mouth is very, very dry. So if there are any questions, I'm going to open the floor to that. Are there any questions that we want to go through?
I don't have any questions in the Q&A panel, so I don't know, Nina or Jason, if there's anything else that you're wanting to see demoed or talk about.
So yeah, I mean, in the short amount of time we've got left then, so let's say we've talked about the here and now and how we can help. Is there a little insight, a minute on what's coming in the future, do you think, Daniel, without giving away our secrets of what we're developing? Where do you think this will go?
So what we are doing, we are always striving to get to that vision. So what we are trying to do is we want to empower the IT teams, workspace owners, let's say all of them, to have the ability to mitigate the potential risks in a very, very fast way. So there is a lot that we still need to do, but our main focus is on creating different tasks here. So for our end users to be able to help the IT teams. So we've started doing that with the ability to ask for metadata, for sensitivity, for those privacy. So all of those tasks, we are going to be continuing working on that. We're going to be continuing working on, let's say, Copilot readiness. We are going to be looking into how we can help with Power Platform. So this is another big topic that we are currently investigating. So what we are talking about right now is, let's say, something that we are talking about within, I don't know, a year, maybe a couple of years. So there is a larger vision around this. So that's roughly it. Our also view is that we need to help admins first. So to help them, we need to enable some of the functionality that we know that we have been missing in the past. And this is, for example, the custom views. So the ability to filter the report, have this report, and so that Nina doesn't need to go in Excel and filter everything again. So you'll just create a report here, you'll Excel it or schedule it, and it will come in that way. So these are these small things that we can always fix. And again, a lot of reporting, a lot of automation. We know that data within Point is very, how to call it, very important to a lot of our users, to a lot of our partners, to a lot of, let's say, people around there. So we are going to be working on different APIs to get that data out. So there is a lot that I've been talking about right now. And there is a lot of work for us.
Thank you.
So
that's great.
More to do.
One quick question, just as we're going and seeing all the new things coming out of of Microsoft with Copilot, and I think the big thing coming out of Ignite was Copilot agents and a lot of cool capability, but at the same time, at the back of my mind, I was wondering, goodness, how do I govern all this? How do I keep track of all this additional stuff, and kind of how people are interacting with Copilot? I don't know if, again, as you said, Jason, we don't want to give away secrets and things, but is that something that's kind of on the roadmap? Because I feel like with all this new capability, there's a lot more work that goes with it. And so are there any plans to kind of track some of that kind of Copilot governance and compliance things besides kind of what you showed, but more the back end managing kind of the things that go with it, the agents and some of that?
Yeah, so what we are starting on right now is the Power Platform. This is also part of Power Platform as we see it. So I do believe that I can't say quickly, but we'll see when we can squeeze in Copilot agents as well. So this is something that is a big discussion topic right now. And we do believe that there is value in having something like this within Point, and that we can help let's say, our customers with that functionality. So that's roughly it.
That's great. One of the nice things that we've been using is the reporting around sensitivity labeling, because obviously that's a really big recommendation to try to, prepare for Copilot. So being able to get some of those reports around the types of sensitivity labels and where they've been applied, that's been incredibly helpful to us as well.
Yeah. So we haven't shown that report. This is something that is actually very, very, let's say, new. So again, there is the sensitivity label inventory here and sensitivity label. So you can use those reports as well. So sensitivity label inventory, you can see where, for example, all of the confidential, all of the labels with confidential are. So these are all of the, let's say, where this label is being applied. So it's again, very, very fast report. Everything in Point. We strive to keep it very scalable and very performant. That's kind of
and user friendly. That's
and
a
user
comment
friendly.
I get.
Very much.
That's a comment we get all the time. Just how user friendly it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing, it's across any vertical, any size customer. It fits. It's one fit. It's for all. So some of the ones we can publicly mention, like Lionsgate and Emirates, are the large, but we come down and we fit with all verticals, and it's exciting time to see how the companies you talk to, whether it be law, public sector, manufacturing, retail, or private. So
exactly. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you both, and Nina, so much for all this. This was great. I know this is a tool that our clients, every time they see little snippets of it, they're like, what is that tool? Very exciting. I've heard Nina talk about the challenges of the admin center and things like that. So this has been the game changer for a lot of the clients and the consulting that we do. So thank you for this in-depth, and we hope to have you back in coming months to show us some of the updates you just talked about.
Yep.
So yeah, if you're watching live or in the future, thank you for joining us on this session. Stay tuned for future sessions. And if you're interested in Syskit or any of the 365 consulting that we've talked about today, feel free to raise your hand and let us know. Otherwise, we'll end it with that, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, all. Thank you.
Bye.